Welcome back to Killer Phone, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we're so glad that you're back with us today. Today, we are talking about Apple TV Plus's new show, Hello Tomorrow. The first season, episodes 1 and 2, retro futuristic living, the amazing and the problematic.
Okay. All right. I know we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I gotta go back.
Oh.
I gotta go backwards.
Okay.
Last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Gunther's
and
Millions.
his
Millions.
Uh-huh.
I want to talk about this because we talked about the fact that I had not seen the whole thing. And you had.
Uh-huh.
And so then I went back to it.
Uh-huh.
And it's the stupidest show I've ever heard. I'm so done with this story. It would take 5 minutes to tell somebody what actually happened, and they have drawn it out into this drama. And every time I'm like, oh my God, you're repeating yourself so much. I literally fell asleep. I couldn't even finish it. I fell asleep trying to restart the 4th episode. And I fell asleep before they even got to anything important. I said, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing it. So I just shut it off and I watched something else that was far better.
Okay.
And so it was a dumb show. And I just have to tell you.
That's fine. I mean, the first 2 episodes were really kind of promising. They had like
yes.
weird, you think that they're going to tie stuff up way more than they do, and they don't really tie stuff up, which is why that it had a poor rating.
It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just watch the first 2 episodes and maybe like the first 10 minutes of the 3rd, and then you've got it.
yeah.
You've got the story.
Okay, so did you get to the part where you realized that there was no
Yeah.
Gunther son?
Yeah.
Yeah, that there was always it was always
him. It was always a manifestation of his own
Right.
thing.
Okay.
And yet the dog.
Yeah.
And the dog is adorable. Somebody needs to rescue this dog.
Somebody needs to rescue all the dogs because there's a
God.
whole breeding situation that's really not
they look
great.
fairly happy and they're very adorable.
There's a whole bunch of them, and
Just, you know what? I don't like the fact that he evaded taxes. Other than that, I don't care what he does. I did care a lot about him doing, quote, research.
right, because it was super unethical.
It was super unethical. So I don't like the guy. The story's ridiculous. I'm mad at it.
Sorry,
It's really weird.
we thought it was going to be funnier than.
I mean,
it was.
if I'd had tomatoes, I'd have thrown them.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. But when we talked about Gunther's Millions, I said, well, whatever, Maurizio and the purported person Gunther were closer than one might imagine.
Yes,
And I think you thought they were in maybe a homosexual relationship.
Yeah, I thought maybe that they were in love.
Lovers, right.
Yeah, and that might have been the harder
part
of it.
They were closer.
Yeah, as in it's him.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's him. It's all a
Yeah.
manifestation of his own psyche, but done intentionally to
Yeah.
evade taxes and research happiness. Gunther just makes me mad. The whole story, not
You're
the dog.
Right. Gunther's Millions makes you mad.
Yes, Gunther's Millions, not
Gunther's
Gunther.
Gunther's a very good
It's
boy.
Gunther.
He's a good boy.
Gunther.
Gunther is a good boy.
Maybe Killer Fun needs like a dog as a mascot, and then we can call him Gunther. Okay, I have taken us very far off track, but I had to say that about Gunther, and then you're not going to like what I have to say about Hello Tomorrow either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You. Spoiler alert! You didn't care for it.
Mm-hmm. I got a great nap.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, good. All right. Well, let's talk about this cast real quick. So Billy Crudup is Jack Billings, the dude running the show at Brightside. He's recently been a not dissimilar character in the morning show, also on Apple TV Plus. Kind of similar, kind of smarmy, self-assured, but still somehow a little charming, but also not exactly honest. I forgot he was in 2000's Almost Famous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like he was like in the band.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hanifa Wood is Shirley Stedman, the person who really keeps everything running for Brightside. She's mostly done 1 or 2 episode stories and a bunch of television shows, and that makes her really familiar looking, but without something you can really pinpoint.
Yeah.
Then we have Nicholas Podney, who is Joey Shorter, the unknowing son to Jack. He started in the business with a few episodes of Heart of Dixie, and he's kind of only worked sporadically since then, so he's probably not super familiar. Of course, Hank Azaria's Eddie is salesman.
Amazing.
Yeah, my kids almost didn't believe me when I told them that he was Phoebe's scientist boyfriend.
They didn't really recognize him at all, huh? That's funny.
I think because they've watched Friends more recently and saw him as a young man in the 90s, and then seeing him here as, a person who's 30 years older than that, they're very surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, and they didn't watch this with us. They just kind of were like in and out. We're like, hey, that's Phoebe's boyfriend. What? He's been in, of course, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Storied career.
Oh, he's amazing. Everything he does.
Everything he does, including over 730 episodes of The Simpsons with at least hundreds, maybe thousands of voices.
Yeah.
Thousands of characters.
It's bananas.
It is really bananas.
It's crazy.
Very cool. Duchesne Williams is Herb Porter, another salesperson. He's had lots of TV appearances, including the very fun Umbrella Academy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a fun
And
show.
In the Dark.
And in the
Which
dark.
we've covered.
That's right.
So, and then his face feels so familiar to me all the time, but I know I haven't seen him in a lot at all. Yet his face is just so has such a presence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Michael Harney is a small part, Sal. He's the client or Mark.
Yeah.
In the diner.
Good question.
And he was in another space show for All Mankind,
Okay.
which is another one on Apple TV Plus, which you didn't care for.
No, I didn't care for. I wanted to like it.
I really liked the first 2 seasons, and the first episode of season 3, literally my husband and I looked at each other and said, I don't want to watch any more of this.
Wow.
Do you? It was bad.
Ooh.
I'm
glad I didn't push through because I was like, maybe if we I liked it so much when it the first couple episodes, and then it just was like, I don't know why. I couldn't even put my finger on it why I didn't like it. But we just decided, well, maybe not. Maybe we'll go back to it. Maybe we just need to be in a different mood. And we never did. So now I'm okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, don't bother.
Put a pin.
And he was also in, had a long stint on Orange is the New Black.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why he looks familiar.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to recap this only briefly so as not to put you to sleep.
Well, I haven't even said how I feel about it, but well, I guess I did. I did say that I took a good nap, huh?
You took a good nap.
I'm trying to be positive here. But, yeah. All right.
You don't have to
Wait,
be.
I have coffee. I'm good.
That's fine.
You go ahead.
So picture it. The moon, the near future. I knew you'd like that. So the Brightside sales team, led by Jack, is selling a vision of hope, a future of affordable condos in the most exotic of locales, the moon. Jack is in touch with his mom, but his son and ex-wife wouldn't know him if you ran into them on the street, which he does. When they end up on a sales route that takes them to Jack's hometown, a freak accident, which actually pulled them there, but that's unclear at first. The accident entices Jack to stay and slyly rekindle family ties. The other members of the group have their secrets, debts, affairs, secrets I suspect we don't know about yet, making all of the relationships in the show very complicated. Audiences liked it more than critics did. Critics only about half liked it. Audiences were almost 80%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll probably keep watching. I've watched just the 2 episodes.
Okay.
So I haven't seen beyond that yet.
Well, you haven't been put to sleep yet.
Oh, okay.
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 Well, make sure you have a good pillow.
Okay.
All right.
Or a cup of coffee.
Or at least a cup of coffee or at least some good snarky attitude. Because,
Okay.
yeah, after the first couple of episodes, I was excited. I thought, this is so unique because it's like, it's mid-century modern, like atomic.
Yeah.
As if we had chosen to focus on different technologies.
Right.
And I'm like, I love this. I think it's so, so cool. And then the show begins to slow to a snail's pace of storytelling.
That's a
and that's
shame.
where I went,
Oh. Well, that's a shame.
yeah. So that was my experience of it.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe people have different experiences of it. Maybe it was me and my mood. I don't know. I also highly disliked one of the quote technical advances that they had.
Okay.
I felt like was so unbelievable that they ruined the whole world. Like
Okay.
it brought me out of the world.
Okay.
'Cause everything was so believable until this like IRS type man walks in with a briefcase that's floating.
Oh, it's dumb.
That's dumb.
We don't need a floating briefcase.
We don't need it. Also, that's not possible, but everything else is possible. Like everything else is okay. Yeah. If we had focused on that technology,
Maybe
maybe it
would
would
be
look
there.
like that.
Right.
Maybe if we had chosen to do it differently, it would look like that. But a floating thing. And then it was like, I mean, it might have been like a fantasy show. Like he opens it and asks for a file, and it like it's like Thing was in his briefcase and opened it and gave him the right file. I was like, well, you don't have Thing to help. You are not Wednesday. Briefcases don't float. Mm-hmm. No, sorry, they lost me with that one.
Okay.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I love everything else about it.
Okay. I figured at least aesthetically you would appreciate things.
Okay, I love the FaceTime thing.
Oh,
Like
yes.
the Zoom thing and the atomic, like,
Yes,
it's
with the
so
little...
nice. I just love those like retro TVs.
And they're so like cute with the domed front on them. And,
So adorable. Everything's like
and it's all in
perfectly-
black and white too, but it's like this technology that's got to be, pretty advanced.
because they're like totally like zooming with each other. Like,
Right, exactly.
oh, it's so adorable. The
Yeah.
aesthetic is so cute.
Yeah.
The floating cars are kind of like, all right, well, that also was like pushing me out of the world.
Yeah, well, and I was like, suspend your disbelief.
That's kinda where
that
I
made me
was.
feel like the Jetsons. This is what everybody thought.
This is what everybody thought. I kind of was able to suspend it until the briefcase thing.
Okay.
And then I was like, nope. And also not floating cars. Everything started to fall apart. Everything fell apart. Yeah. It was terrible.
Do you know where this was filmed? Would you like to take a guess?
I mean, I want to say Georgia.
Okay, so this will surprise you because
Okay.
I was surprised because I would have thought it was somewhere a little more rural like that. Nope, New York City and Long Island.
What?
Yes,
Really?
yes, Amsterdam Avenue. Yes, like in Manhattan near Harlem
What?
and Columbia University. The houses.
Oh,
Yeah, they're little like adorable houses.
like atomic era,
Yeah.
mid-century modern. I guess that would be a nice place to find that at a, because back then, it's not that mid-century modern was everywhere.
Right.
It was just, some of it was mid-century, right? Some things are modern, some things are contemporary, some things are whatever, traditional, yada,
Right.
yada, yada, yada. But so like this is mid-century. So to find like that upper class, like mid-century atomic era kind of builds all in one place, now I have to go there. I got to see this street. Well, I'm going to New York. y'all.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'll let you know when I'm going. You can meet me on Amsterdam Street.
There we go. Billy Crudup, who plays Jack, compares his job and his job on the show to one another a little bit. He says, you feel a little smarmy doing that sometimes. It's a natural reaction for actors in general to know that what they're doing is trying to pull a hoax in the hopes that we can transport you for a moment for a small fee. So he kind of has a similar view of what his character is doing.
That's interesting.
And then the sets and costumes were really critical. I was really appreciated how much they really spent trying to make sure that it was period accurate
Right.
for a show that's set in the future, but based on the future that we thought we were going to have like in the 50s.
Right.
And so there's all this aesthetic with the so they were able to find a hospital and a grocery store that were kind of in and around New York that was already built, that kind of had the right thing, but then the set decorators would be like, oh, we can't use this one. The trim on the window is not period.
Interesting.
We can't use that. And and also the clothing, really, really period. Really, they took so there's the tie that ties itself. And, it's silly.
It's silly.
It was silly, but it was kind of fun in the first episode.
And then it all fell apart. Never mind. I'm sorry. It is. It's silly.
Right.
But it's fun.
Right. And it was that, the thing that pops out and gives Jack his shaving kit.
Right.
We still have a shaving kit like that, but it comes out of a machine and he's dictating and the dictating machine picks that up and he has to start all over again. And, it's like...
And that was like something that really does relate to our current... I think that's why I was able to... I think that's why in the first few episodes, they really actually did build this universe. You can suspend your disbelief and notice how I use diction to write most of my thesis.
Right.
Right. So if I was doing that and then got distracted and said something to somebody, it would pick it up.
Right.
That was like a real problem I had sometimes.
Yeah, but you didn't have to start all the way over. You could just delete that bit.
Exactly. And that's the part. Like, what if you focused on making typewriters better instead of creating computers? What if you focused on, making Zoom happen back then?
But not color.
Right? Like, so it's... what are we focused on this versus that? And then the mid-century modern part of it is the idea that everything's kind of behind concealed by cabinetry in such a way that it's super organized, but also concealed. So that all kind of fit too.
Right.
With where they were going.
So we learn pretty early on that things are not really on the up and up.
Yeah.
So... Here are some tips to avoiding real estate scams.
Oh, that's good.
We're going to do this right up here. So
all right.
There's a lack of proper documentation. Check. They did not have a lot of documentation of any kind, really.
Yeah.
There is a pressure to act immediately. We're running out of space on the moon. Don't go home and think about it. Pro and con lists are for the robots.
Yeah, no.
No.
No, you go home, be a robot.
Do a little research. Yeah. Unrealistic guarantees.
I know.
You're going to be living on the moon.
I mean, how did he even... But even in the show, they set it up to where you start to realize it's a scam, and then you kind of hope it's not.
Yeah.
And then you kind of think, well, maybe that is going on, but he's just a scammer.
Right.
Like there really is real estate on the moon, but he's scamming people. Because they watch a whole thing take off.
Right.
It's random. Is that one of ours? Yep, that's one of ours. No, it's not. I can tell by the way he said it, but also they are going to the moon. So weird, right?
Maybe they're going to the moon.
Maybe.
Maybe they're not.
Maybe they're not.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
But it doesn't have to be a place on the moon.
No.
It can just be anything, really, that sounds too good to be true. So the best way to avoid being a victim of a real estate scam is to not fall for it in the first place.
Yes.
So, but if you do fall for it, you can contact a few people for help. So if there's a mortgage provider on your piece of real estate that is not the same person, you can contact them and often they can help you. So especially if it's a big bank or a large mortgage lending company, they're going to be invested in helping you get out of this situation because they want their money or they want to be able to cancel this debt in some way. You should call the local police.
Oh, okay.
That is the place to start.
Okay.
They're probably going to have you talk to your attorney general in your state if you're in the U.S. If you're in the U.S., you should also contact the Federal Trade Commission.
Oh, yeah. Bring that FTC in.
That's right. Those are the things that you should do if you find yourself a victim. But
Yeah.
be skeptical. Ask people who have experience in real estate to help you. If you have a friend who's a real estate agent and it sounds too good to be true, ask them. They're going to tell you whether it's a scam or not. They're going to be like, this is amazing, or don't do this. Especially when they don't have a commission involved. It's not them getting a commission. They're going to be more honest with you. Not that they wouldn't be honest with you otherwise, but
it helps with the conflict of interest.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm thinking like one of the things you should work on, I don't know if it's on the list, but I feel like you should have a real estate agent who's your agent.
Right.
That very few situations can be done without that or by one person. Very few. And I mean, it does happen. I've had a certain situation where we didn't have a real estate agent, and everything was fine. There's a whole different situation than this.
Right.
The other part is you ought to be able to walk property.
Right.
You ought to be able to go and see no, if you get something in the mail and it's like, look, it's Hill Country Ranch, 8 acres for whatever. Okay, well then call the number and bring your own real estate agent and go walk the land.
Right.
And maybe it is a good deal. Maybe they really are subdividing and trying to get rid. I don't know.
Right.
Probably not.
But you're not going to be able to walk the land on the moon.
No, and that's hard because obviously there is some sort of ubiquitous knowledge that there are commercial flights to the moon. Because I don't think he could get that scam going in a world where people don't think that they can get to the moon.
Okay, so we'll get there.
Ooh, you have things. Oh, I'm excited. Okay.
I think we'll be able to get there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, come on now. Don't let me down. You got this. All right. What else you got?
Right now, I've got a break.
Okay.
So we'll be back with Is It True, Psychology Break, and Real Life after this.
So here's how it works. Christy wrecks her search history. Hey, NSA, we promise it's nothing more nefarious than a podcast. To find out what's true, some of the psychological motivations behind the characters' actions, and real-life applications that relate to our topic. I have no idea what Christy decided to look up. Could be the same thing that captured my curiosity or something I never thought of.
Is it true?
Hit me.
So the TV show Hello Tomorrow is obviously
Not
fictional. But Hello Tomorrow, the organization, is real.
Wait, what?
There is an organization called Hello Tomorrow. Basically, they're trying to figure out ways to use technology basically to save us from ourselves.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they were founded in 2011, and Arnaud de la Tour is the CEO of Hello Tomorrow, and he has this to say about their organization. We believe that even though technology won't spare us the need to change our habits, it can provide solutions to some of the biggest problems of our century, starting with climate change.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes. So they were founded in 2011, and basically it was because the traditional model that takes technology from idea to lab to creation to market is not adequate for the time frame that we have in which we need these solutions. So they're using deep tech to try and help startups and corporations build this technology in order to help us.
Wow.
So, and I was like, ooh, deep tech, what does that really mean?
So they say more about that.
They describe this. Deep tech describes an innovation approach using emerging technologies rooted in science and advanced engineering that can offer significant advances over existing technologies to help solve global problems.
Okay.
So it's basically high-level engineering to push things faster and further.
Okay.
In order to be able to help us.
Wow.
Here's hoping.
And
there seems like a very behind the scenes, which is why we would have never heard of them before. They're very much a back end working with businesses or emerging businesses in order to try and, save the planet.
That's pretty awesome.
It is really cool.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I have gears turning. Like, I feel like there's a rabbit calling my name saying, follow me.
Oh.
Follow me down this trail.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have to do that later.
Okay.
Maybe I'll post a little bit about what I find.
Yeah, that'd be great. Hopefully what you don't find is embezzlement and things like that.
Not.
Because
I hope
that
not.
was a little bit where I was like, I hope this isn't a front for something.
I hope not.
I hope it's but
Well, I might have to do some sleuthing because I have ideas. I have ideas that they could fund. They need my ideas. Because y'all know I come up with inventions like all the time.
Yes.
I have some, I can't say them now because I can't have everybody sign an NDA.
Right.
Yep, I went there. So that's how nerdy I am. Mm-hmm. So I'm all like, what invention should I be pitching to these people? Because I don't want to do it.
Right.
I have ideas, but I'm far too lazy. But I certainly would like somebody else to do something about it.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Okay.
Here we go.
Maybe we'll start a movement.
Okay.
Okay.
So service robots.
Oh, yes.
That float and talk to us and dispense frosty beverages from their belly like we saw in not a thing.
I mean, okay, so not floating.
Right.
But the VA hospitals do use robots to go and dispense medication and do certain things and greet you and take you to different places.
Right.
And of course, which is it that has like the little robot, the DoorDash?
Oh,
has a little drone robot that'll deliver your food.
Right.
But they don't float.
They don't float.
We can't just not be in gravity, y'all.
I'm like, that floating robot could not carry enough beer to fill up more than a glass at a time.
Yeah.
It was silly.
A little silly.
But
see, one of those things. That
but again, it was
apart.
a very fun Jetsons-esque sort of idea about the future and, whatever.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's fine if it brings me a beer.
Right. Right. My youngest went to a sushi place and they had a little robot that picked up plates and things. And like your bill was based on the colors of the plates. And so as you fed the plates in, it calculated your bill.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was really cute.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that's silly and fun. But it rolled around and they thought it was cool. It didn't float.
There you go.
And it didn't talk to anybody not really. I mean, like it had maybe a rudimentary, but it couldn't have a conversation. Yeah. It wasn't making any pro-con lists.
No.
Right. But there are more rudimentary autonomous robots that were in the Tate Modern Art Museum in London in late 21 and early 2022.
Okay.
They were created by Annika Yee, and she called them aerobes. And they were filled with helium, and they were quite large, and they would float, and they could sense when they needed to be charged, and they'd take themselves back to their dock. So that's, seems pretty normal, except they were floating.
Yeah.
And quite large in a very large space that was repurposed from having a large amount of equipment in it.
Okay.
And so the Tate Modern used to be an industrial facility of some kind. So they have this really big room that suited itself really well to these floating autonomous machines, and they interact with the visitors. Now, they didn't ever get really very close because there's like a skyway bridge that you could go up so you could be a little closer to them, or you could be on the ground, and they wouldn't get within a couple of meters of you, but they could sense your heat signature and that like interact with you a little bit, kind of move towards you. And some of them had kind of like tentacle things that moved a little bit. They looked like sea anemones, or not anemones, jellyfish. I think jellyfish are pretty. I don't want to. You don't like them?
I don't know. No, I don't like them. They're obnoxious.
Oh, well, yes.
But they're also so important.
Right.
You can't be mad at them for long.
I know. That's very true. And some of them are
Eternal. They're eternal. That bothers me.
Oh, okay.
Why are jellyfish eternal? That feels unfair.
Because they don't have the autonomy to be able to appreciate it.
Well, no, why not me? Right? Like the jellyfish that stings me because he's mean. He's mean. I didn't do nothing to him. I swam in his space. And he stings me and it hurts.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
But that's not the kind that's eternal, though.
No.
But
no.
Yeah.
Those aren't eternal. But
no. Whatever. Jellyfish.
Anyway,
okay, but these things are filled with helium.
And that, yes, and they would float around and they go up and down with little tiny little jets and things, and they interact with one another, and they have an AI software that now they didn't have their own sensors. The sensors that they got information from were placed around the space. So they didn't have the sensors to be able to tell.
They're not autonomous then?
Well, but they weren't being controlled by a person. They were getting information from sensors and from one another. They could tell where one another was in the space. They didn't run into each other, which I thought was pretty cool.
I just wait, the helium. I'm like, is this the use of our very limited resource of helium? Is this what we're using it for?
I'm fine with it. It's, if we can put it in balloons, we can have it in a 2-month-long art exhibit that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I fell down a rabbit hole of watching these things, and they were glorious. I'm where
maybe
is
it is a good use of our helium.
I think it is.
Okay.
Because it was beautiful.
When I ask a question, That's right. It's not rhetorical. So, all right. So we think it is.
I think
a lot comes from that
experience. There was like 6 or 8 of them. It wasn't like a ton of them.
Right.
So there wasn't a whole... There wasn't thousands of them, and they were large, but I mean, each one is like, 30 balloons.
Okay.
Not like...
Yeah, a vast amount.
Right.
All right. Okay. So this is interesting. Maybe you have another rabbit hole and you fall.
Yeah. Oh,
fall down.
It was beautiful. And, of course, I'll post a video of all this stuff. This is really cool. And she did this thing with scents as well, in the space, trying to natural sorts of scents to evoke different emotions and feelings and understanding of the world as the exhibit went on. So you could go every day and have a new experience because the machines were moving in a unpredictable manner, not like they were going to come at you, but they just every day you could go and smell something different and see something different because no 2 days were going to be the same, just like organic creatures.
That's cool.
It was pretty interesting. Jack painted a picture when he was in the diner with Sal at the very beginning of robots, putting people out of work.
Yeah.
And this isn't out of the realm of possibility, but advancing automation is far more likely to create more jobs than it takes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to...
According to the Harvard...
Tell me stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this briefly here. We're going to talk about it more in real life later.
Oh,
so
okay.
The Harvard Business Review says that the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Report of 2020 says that you can expect about 85 million jobs to be displaced by machines by 2025.
Right.
So this is a few years old now. So maybe that's, changed a little bit.
Maybe.
But that they expect about 97 million jobs to be created by the use of these sorts of things, whether it's building new machines they have to be built by somebody. They can be partially built by other machines, but they need humans to engineer them and have some ingenuity with them and different things like that. That they tend to do highly repetitive tasks that are dangerous or boring or prone to mistakes when people do them. And that they expect new types of roles to be created. So there's going to be new types of jobs that we don't even realize are coming yet.
Yeah.
And that makes it so that the younger generation that's coming in isn't competing with older people who have experience in that job already because they're new jobs.
Right.
So the younger people are going to have new jobs to do. And so that makes the workforce a little broader for everybody.
Yeah, I still think the issue of displacement is really the meaningfulness around that displacement and what it actually is on the individual level is often overlooked for the greater picture.
Right.
For the individual who does that repetitive job, say in an automotive situation where they're doing something that's hands-on and one car comes through, they do the job, they push it and all of that, and a robot takes over, that person doesn't naturally move into that new job.
Right.
Because they are good at actually doing that work, and mechanical does not mean a hell of beans for overseeing this robot or all the computer stuff in it, which means we have so many people who have to then decide that they're going to give up the first half or 3/4 of their life's work to start something new and act like that doesn't really mean much. It means some.
Right.
But it doesn't mean a whole lot. And so they have to decide to get retrained and educated, and they lose their and so if they don't do that, they lose the opportunity to finish their career.
Right.
So a lot of times people are getting displaced and they don't feel like they can learn the new thing, and so they leave before they can get their pension.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of the sad
Pension.
part.
What's that? Nobody gets a pension anymore.
Not many people, but if you're in a union,
Yeah.
if you're in an automotive,
Right.
like an ironworks union or whatever, you absolutely. And so you don't get what you put in when you get displaced unless you decide to move into that next thing. So it's really hard on the individual level.
It is.
Even if it's good for the broad.
It can be challenging. And again, I would encourage you, all of you, anyone listening, myself included, this is where you get the point where you say, I'm going to be a flexible person who's willing to learn new things.
Yeah.
Because our technology is moving very rapidly.
We
need to be
to
willing to learn the new thing.
And start before you have to.
Right.
The hard
That's
part
fair.
is going and working and doing all of that, and then all of a sudden having to pivot and deal with technology that you've never even interacted with at all or didn't know existed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we'll get back to that.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Get back.
I'm excited.
We'll get back to some of that. So you mentioned the commercial flights to the moon.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is where I'm going to talk about this. Because there's a thing they really glossed over in Hello Tomorrow, which was mining on the moon.
Yeah.
And then playground of the rich and famous on the moon. I don't think the rich and famous were taking commercial flights to the moon. I don't think that there is an expectation of commercial flights to the moon, like you said. I think there's an expectation of Brightside would be providing them some sort of transportation to the moon when their unit was available or ready or whatever. But I think that's different than like a commercial flight. Though they kind of talked about it as...
Okay, well, I don't mean like you can book a ticket.
Right.
That's not what I mean. Like, so commercial, maybe that's not the right word. Because I don't mean like, I think that they thought they could just go book a ticket to the moon.
Right.
But I feel like there had to be... they had to jump over the hurdle of, yes, people go to the moon.
Okay, so I think that the rich and famous being able to go there, true or not.
So like in the world, people go to the moon. Whether businesses, private, people go to the moon.
Right.
And so that's an interesting people just go to the moon here. That's how he's able to, because if you had to jump over that and convince people that, yeah, indeed, we're going to have this launch and we're the only ones who do it.
Yeah.
You'd have to feel like it's at all possible.
Right. Well, and that's because they've had the commercial mining.
Yes. So they know people can get there.
Like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, God.
They expect it to be possible as of February 2023. Theoretically possible in the next decade.
Yeah.
But it is the kind of equipment you would need to be able to do the mining. You have to get it all up there. You have to do, I mean, all of this. It's just...
It's so much. And really, do we want to mine the moon? I mean, like, I feel like it's maybe a few steps backwards. Let's look at some ethics here. And, you know, what's interesting is that, like, our government is having to create a new policy about companies claiming space. The international community has decided nobody can just claim it, although some people are like, yeah, we're going to do that anyway. So it's just, you're looking at me like, you've got this. Look, we're on the same We're on the same page in this podcast.
We are on the same page because, you know what? For all the things that happen in Hello Tomorrow, I'm like, wait a minute. They just glossed over all of that mining and all of this. So what is even on the moon that we might want to mine?
I mean, there might be stuff.
There's definitely stuff.
Well, and now there's little water bears on the dark side of the moon.
Well, of course there are. Water bears everywhere. Cosmos magazine says that the moon is believed, certainly, to be a source of helium. Oxygen, which we wouldn't want to bring back necessarily, but would be important for setting up anything up there that needs a human being there. Silicon, aluminum, iron, manganese, titanium, all of this stuff is there.
Yeah.
But they also didn't talk about this whole complicated part that is the geopolitical stuff.
That was the word that was in my head, was the geopolitical situation.
I mean, they just, like, everybody assumes you can own a piece of the moon and there's not going to be any taxes there. And
it makes no sense.
By the way, I mean, because the U.S., according to Bloomberg, you know, has set up this whole Artemis Accord. Yes, which is, you know, a non-legally binding, but they've had a lot of different countries agree to it. Basically that, you know, you can't really claim land on other planets. Back when we had the original space race between the U.S. and the Soviets, we had kind of an agreement with them that, you know, we were going to take this big step and it was going to be for the betterment of mankind.
Right.
Not
one country.
But
we did plant our flag there.
You put the flag there to show that you've been there, not necessarily.
That's also how you claim land.
Well, yeah, it's how you used to claim land.
Maybe a little doublespeak, I'm saying.
Oh, sure.
Maybe a little, we were just here. That's all. This is our flag. Hello.
Right.
Right. Hello.
Yes. But, you know, and that's where For All Mankind kind of went. It was an alternate history of what if Russia made it there first.
Right.
It was the whole thing. It was parts of it were interesting.
You know what it is? I think, all right, tangent. I don't like alternate history shows as much as I thought I would.
Oh, yeah.
They tend to just not make it to the end.
That's fair. Well, because it's hard to know.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to start out and be like, ooh, what if it changed just a little bit?
But, like, finish your story.
Yeah.
Like, do a good job.
No, they're not good at that. But, I mean, there's billions, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars worth of resources on the moon. And, you know, the U.S. and China can't agree on this. China tends to want to say, we're going to go claim it for us. And, you know, it's very contentious. And they just, gloss right over all of that.
Like the people just are okay with like whatever's happening up there.
It's just some sort of utopia. What kind of government is there? It seems like there's no government because there's no taxes.
Right. There's no taxes. It was
so
just all
how do you support a government? So what happens if somebody kills somebody on the moon?
It's like they all want to just move to this like resort on the moon. So it's all bright side. That's all. It's all just a company. And so it's
But they totally glossed over all of that. So would you vacation on the moon if you could?
Yes.
Really? Would you live on the moon if you could?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Does that sound nice to you?
Yes.
Like a very exotic locale?
Yeah, I've always been obsessed with space travel. And like, I joke that like there's in a multiverse that I do different things. Like I have alternate endings. I don't like TV shows to do it, but I like to dream about it. And so one of my alternates is that I went into the space program. Like I want to experience the gravity difference.
Oh, see, you with spine issues, maybe that'd be great for you.
Yeah, because I do. I have a lot of back issues. I have a terrible back.
Right.
It needs
and
help.
if you didn't have gravity, then maybe it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted to go. And like the idea that like you could see something different when you look up into the sky. Right? That you would have an earth rise.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's fun. Yeah. How fun.
Super cool.
Yeah. All of the sources that we use to inform our discussion here on Killer Fun Podcast can be found on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod, or you can send us an email at killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to share a link to whatever information you're looking for. We love to hear from you. You might learn a little something too. Psychology break.
Ooh.
All right. So living on the moon is the height literally of luxury. So something that was previously only for the rich and famous, now accessible to the average man. But what do luxury goods do for us? So Positive Luxury has some ideas that they say that the real reason why people buy luxury goods or experiences is self-actualization. That it is a misconception that we buy it to show off our status to others. That is sometimes the case. But it is really more about us feeling like we're more evolved, more worth the expensive luxury item than it is about being a show off.
Yeah, that resonates. That tracks.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Well, like
in myself and in others. I can see that being very, very true.
Well, and that luxury bag, it's almost like armor.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, if you're feeling insecure about a place you're going to go because the people are wealthier, it's not about showing off to them. It's showing that you belong.
Yes, exactly.
It's about saying, I'm here and I'm supposed to be here.
Right.
You may look at me and think I'm not supposed to be, but look at my bag.
Yeah. Or like you've worked really hard and you get to it and there's certain things that help mark that milestone of I can afford this now.
Right.
And so I've made it. And it's not a status symbol as much as it is a milestone, you know.
Right. That I can have this bag and use it.
Yeah, and use it. Like, that's fine.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. It's not just a luxury product, this condo on the moon. It is real estate.
Yeah.
Does homeownership actually bring people happiness?
Not anymore. There was a time. All right, homeownership. All right, I know you got stuff. All right, here's what I got. Here's what I got. Here's what I know. Homeownership used to be the best and easiest way to build generational wealth.
Right.
It's a crapshoot now.
Right.
And I feel like it's all a scam. Now, here's my context for all of you listening who don't know. I live in a money pit right now, so I have some real feelings and attitudes about all this.
I knew you would.
Yeah. So, but I do come at it with a negative, outlook, obviously. But nevertheless, you look at real estate, and I can't help but think it's a freaking pyramid scheme. Because the only way you get the good if you were on the ground floor of it, and then they resell it. And then they take a little bit of that profit, and then you get a little wealthier because you have an asset. Look, it's the greatest pyramid scheme ever, real estate. So now I don't want to rent from somebody either because
then you're just paying for them to move up the pyramid.
Yeah, but also they have to do all the work. And that sounds delightful.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know anymore.
You're right.
I don't know anymore. Maybe it's changing. That's the problem.
Well, I think that's part of it. So psychologically, let's have a look at this. So it's always been seen as like a hallmark of the American dream.
Yeah.
To own a house, and that only about 30 to 33% of millennials owned homes at the end of 2018.
Well, and there are so many reasons, financially and economically.
Right.
And, you know,
This is even before the big bubble. And that's about 10 percentage points below where baby boomers and Gen X were at the same age, the levels of home ownership.
right.
Right.
And like, yeah. So the recession,
Right.
right? College debt.
Right.
That created a debt ratio that meant most of them don't qualify.
Right.
And then the percentage is usually about 60% of your income, when in generations past, it was anywhere from between 20 to maybe 40% of your income.
Right.
No, who can afford to get a home in that case?
Right.
Then you've got all the maintenance and all the upkeep and all of that kind of stuff that falls on your shoulders.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah. It can be overwhelming. We've been there. You've been there. We know.
Yep.
But shopping for a house can make you happy.
I love doing that.
I mean, that part's fun.
Isn't that terrible? I love doing that.
You love doing the shopping
That's
part.
another one of my little multiverses is I went and was a real estate agent.
That's right. I mean, it feels good when you're approved for the loan. It feels good to walk around and evaluate a house and look at it. And would this suit my needs? Would this work for me? You know, all of that is exciting and fun, but it's a material item. And as with all material items, the enjoyment of buying it diminishes over time.
Yep.
Your happiness, as far as your happiness is concerned, that within 5 years of purchasing a house, your happiness levels about owning the home are no different than if you were renting a home.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of that is, you know, because of the things you said, like you've got to spend the money on the upkeep. And if something goes wrong, it's all your fault, or not your fault, or your responsibility to deal with it. And
yeah, there's a level of stress there.
well, and you have less money for leisure activities or traveling, things like that, because you've got to be saving. Now, of course, this was all before, you know, our whole housing crisis during the pandemic. And so it's a little bit outdated, maybe. But even still, I think maybe outdated, but those things are only going to be amplified.
I was about to say, I think it's quite valid coming out of the pandemic. You know, I think I think we're in the same spot that because we're really battling a recession right now. So,
Right.
yeah, it's like that small dip in the roller coaster right now where you're like, oh, is it going to be big or I don't know. It's in the tunnel.
Yeah. Are we going to spin a while? I don't know what we're going to do. Yeah.
We don't know. And you know what? None of the experts know either.
Right.
For a myriad of reasons. But it's interesting to hear them talk about the people who have been in economics and forecasting for years and years have never seen the signs so contradictory.
Right.
And that's weird to them. And so there's so many people who are like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah. And it can actually be a detriment in some ways to your career, because if you buy a house, you're more likely to look for employment in the same area where you already own the home than you are to look for a broader opportunity somewhere else.
And stick with a job you don't like.
Right.
Because of the vast commitment.
Then Joey runs into Jack in the hospital, and Joey had purchased a small condo that he said how nice it was to finally being able to look forward to something.
Oh,
that he had
my heart.
I know, me too. And I was like, oh, he hadn't allowed himself to look forward to anything since his mom got hit. So actually, it's really good for your mental health to anticipate things.
Yes.
Urban Wellness Counseling has an article about how important it is to give yourself something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
That unlike anxiety, which is fear of what might happen, anticipation is more excitement about what might be happening. And you can plan a trip or make plans for the future. Those things can help you build anticipation, and that actually looking forward to a trip can be more fulfilling and enjoyable than actually taking the trip sometimes.
Right. Because it creates meaning now.
Right.
Even though it's in the future.
Right.
It's meaningful now. And and you kind of hold on to that. Yeah. And sometimes then you get there and it's a little bit of a letdown. So you have to be careful, like manage your expectations. But on the other hand, you can totally like look forward to things, and it can be small things
Right.
that you do. Something weekly, something monthly, something, daily.
Just
right?
looking forward to your coffee in the morning.
Yes.
Just looking forward to seeing people that you like.
Yep.
So you make a plan
Yes.
to go and see people
Yeah.
and spend some time with them, even if it's just for a cup of coffee or,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be something expensive. You can even do free or low cost online classes. Something to look forward to, something you've always wanted to try. And then
Yep.
you'll know whether it's something that you should do more of, or find a group, or find a way to connect with people around that, or whether it's something you can abandon, but it still gives you something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
And
that's a little different than dreams.
Right.
Because there is an upside and a downside to dreams. Like, I have a dream of being this, or I have a dream. Sometimes people have that, and that's not necessarily hope, because hope has a goal. There's something actually, forward. But the dream, and so sometimes people need to not go after their dream because they need to think it might still happen, or that they might still be capable of it.
Sure.
Because if you go after it and it doesn't work out, then you don't get to have that dream anymore.
Right.
And that's kind of hard. It's not the same thing as hope. So two different things.
Yeah. And that basically it's a distraction. It's a coping skill.
It is a coping mechanism.
And so it's a way to kind of distract yourself from the pressures of your life right now in order to be able to look forward to something.
But it's a healthy cope.
Exactly. No, coping memechanisms are generally meant to be helpful. Sometimes people have poor ways of executing them, but
yeah, there are some bad ones out there, but that's a good one right there. Hope.
Real life. So let's talk more about robots.
Okay.
Okay, so CNBC has an article, robots could take over 20 million jobs by 2030. So those jobs are largely going to be in China, not in the US, because there's a lot of manufacturing there. So while we can expect 1.5 million jobs to be lost in manufacturing in the United States to automation, it'll be about triple or more of that in China.
Wow.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't pursue automation.
No, it doesn't. But we have to do it ethically. We have to do it right.
And we need to, I know people don't like talking about government intervening in private companies' things, but we need to have our government do things to incentivize retraining of their current employees.
That's correct.
Yes. Retrain these workers, make them feel valued, make them feel like the experience that they've had doing this job that's being taken over by a robot is actually helpful and valid to the next step in their career.
And I would say like companies like GM is doing a great job of this. There are ways for employees to proactively get into programs to go ahead and retrain before they've lost their job.
Right.
Before it's like a, oh my gosh, situation. And, because I have experience in this whole your first half of your career is now meaningless situation.
Yeah.
And it's not, it will translate, but it is a very difficult situation when your career is just full stop, brick wall, and you're thrown off the path. So you're just like, what does it all mean? How does it work? I can't continue that way because of how everything went. So, imagine, 25 years of work in one area, but proactive retraining is really helpful because it helps the individual to make the transition from what the skills and the talents they had, how that translates to the next stage.
Sure.
GM's doing a good job of that.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So Brigham Young University did some research. Professor Eric Dahlin, sociology professor there, did some research, and he said, actually, robots aren't replacing us as fast as we think. That up to this point, only about 14% of people have seen their job or part of their job lost to automation.
Yeah.
And that people who've lost their job to automation tend to think it's about triple that. People who have not think it's about double that. So it's actually still
slower.
Much slower.
Okay, good.
Much than most people realize. And that people have been fearing the job loss due to automation since the early 1800s, since before even the Industrial Revolution.
Right. Well, because that's technology. And as technology came, things changed.
Oh, people freaked out about the cotton gin.
Oh, for sure.
But you know what? It was a job that stunk. And you know what? We were able to have people do different kinds of jobs.
Yep.
And so that's something else to consider is that it's going to free people up to do better, more interesting, safer jobs. And that like the airline industry is a good example of this, that if you had a human paint the wing of a plane, it would take a really long time.
Yeah.
And it's arduous, difficult work. But a robot can do it in about 24 minutes.
Right.
But you have people working with the robots, refilling their paint, unclogging jammed sprayers, all these things. You have them working in tandem, and you can do it in about 24 minutes.
Yeah.
It's much, much faster. So if you think of it as they're not here to replace us, they're here to do the parts that are unsafe or dangerous.
And as long as that's how they're employed.
Right.
Sure thing.
Right.
Right. But I think the fear comes when automation literally takes over and it's unnecessary to have that team versus automation being a tool for a team of individuals in their work.
Right.
Right. That's, I think, what people are afraid of. And, you know, it's one of those things that maybe you shouldn't be afraid of it, but there should be a healthy amount of concern so that we implement it with the right ethics.
Well,
you know,
exactly.
just a little checks and balances.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, we just don't want to go full, free market on this.
No, we need to be conscious and mindful about how.
Right. Forbes did an interview with Kevin Dunlap, managing partner at Calibrate Ventures. And he's actually kind of excited about the idea of automation, that it is taking jobs that are dangerous, that are boring,
that's good.
that are, that if a human gets tired and they make a mistake would injure other humans.
Right.
So that's where he sees it as a good thing, but he's actually saying, we're finally reaching this level of affordability where it's possible. And so, yes, it's scary, but it's a matter of helping young people understand where the future of jobs are going.
Right.
It's a matter of helping existing workers to retrain.
Yep.
And that, not everybody has to be a coder or an engineer to be able to do these jobs. Sometimes, you don't need to be able to do all of the repair on the machine. You need to be able to be there for the things that go wrong most.
Right.
That's where you're working in tandem with these machines. And then you have people who are more specialized and, but I mean, that's the future of being a mechanic, is knowing how to work on these robots. And, that people really worried about this, the cotton gin, which we've mentioned, telephone operators.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we don't have those anymore. Word processors replaced typewriters, and then were replaced by computers. And, mass food processing, all of these different things that are repetitive or unsafe. I mean, if we can not have people having to cut up the chickens, that's
that'd be good.
really better. So
that's better.
Buck Manziel was the spokesperson for Brightside and purportedly calls down from the moon. He was the space sheriff on TV. He might be based on an actual real law enforcement officer. So Bass Reeves was historically noted as the first Black deputy U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi River.
Oh.
Yes, and he had a very long career. He was very effective at his job. He had more than 3,000 arrests of dangerous fugitives.
Wow.
He only shot and killed 14 of them in self-defense. That is less than 0.5%.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So he was very effective and pretty impressive.
Nice.
He was born in July of 1838, so into slavery.
Yeah.
And stuck around till January of 1910.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So they had the popcorn makers that I was kind of super infatuated with at the Jet Ball. Like, how nice would it be that it's all like popped and right there in front of you? And I mean, I know all kinds of logistical nightmares. People are getting burned. It's not great, but it was cool to watch the popcorn pop in the little cup right in front of them.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Super
that's
cool.
Not a thing.
That's not a thing, but you can watch it in the microwave.
Well, right.
You can. It's close enough. I have one of those. It's a glass bowl.
Yes.
Glass pitcher bowl, and you put it in there, and you watch it pop.
I used to watch it.
Actually, you better watch it pop because you don't want to burn it.
Right. No, that's not a good smell. I used to watch it when my parents had the ones with the oil and the little arm that went around, and I would watch it pop, and it was
the big machines too. They're fun when it pops over.
Yeah.
But like on the stove, I used to do the kernels on the stove. And that was fun.
Yeah.
But it's hard because you have to keep shaking it, a little bit. But you can watch them. And then one night we were outside with a campfire with a group of youth from a church, and we were out there and threw popcorn kernels onto the fire. It was not my idea, but I was on board when it happened. And all of a sudden popcorn starts flying out of this fire, and people are trying to catch it with their mouth. It was great. It was so much fun. I'm like, I want to do that again. It was super. There's fresh popcorn flying out of a fire. It's great. And it tastes delicious.
I so want to do that now.
Yeah, it's so fun. Okay, listen, this is a disclaimer.
Don't do it and
Don't
get burned.
try this at home.
No.
But if you ignore my warning, also, we are not responsible for anything that happens if you try that at home in contrast to my very clear, do not try this at home label.
But if you do try it at home, send us a video
Please
of it.
send us a video.
Well, I fell down a whole rabbit hole of interesting popcorn makers. And my favorite one was called a hand cannon food amplifier.
What?
It's tiny. It's like the little vessel, you put the popcorn in it, and the little vessel is like smaller than the size of like a glasses case.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So you put it in there, you put a little oil in there, and then you seal this thing up like even with an Allen wrench is how you seal it up at the top. It's basically a little tiny pressure cooker, and you put it over this little open flame, and you just sit there and turn it, and it heats up. And then there's a special bag that you take and you put it over the end of this hand cannon. And it's still the same size. It's made of metal entirely. Okay. You put this bag over the end, and there's a special tool you use to pop the end off, and all of the popcorn pops right then. Like, boom, the bag is full. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's so much fun. I watched 100 videos of it.
Oh my gosh.
So much fun.
Wow.
So we can't have ones that pop right there in front of us, but we can watch them all pop at once.
Like a popcorn.
Like a literal
thrower.
cannon.
Like a popcorn thrower, like fire thrower, but like popcorn.
Yeah, flamethrower.
Or a flamethrower, yeah. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It was fun.
Okay,
It was delightful.
somebody go buy that and please try it and take a video and send it to us.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So next time, we're going to talk about Wreck on Hulu, cruise ship conundrum. Somebody's sister goes missing, and he gets a job on a cruise ship to find out what happened to her. So it's supposed to be funny. BBC, lots of people with fun British accents. So I'm here for it.
Me too.
So until next time, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Da, da, da.